What do you think of low carb and low fat to force your body to burn its own excess fat?
Well, for me, I do low carb and low fat all in one. I try to stay away from like the bacon and sausage and different, a lot of, I'll use cheese, but I try to stay away from, the really fatty cheese. I think it's honestly what you put in your body is going to help, with the excess fat, but also with like exercising. Because it can't just be food, because you're going to have that belly fat. If you just do food, you're not going to actually lose the actual belly fats and stuff if you don't exercise as well.
Okay, that's helpful. And here's my perspective from where I stand in my background. It's very similar. As I mentioned earlier, there's been debates, for decades. When I first got into a health profession, preventive medicine at Johns Hopkins, it was all about avoiding fat. Everybody always said diet, diet, diet. There's not been much argument over the relative importance of diet in terms of lifestyle. There's not been much argument or debate over the importance of lifestyle. The big problem is nobody wants to make the lifestyle changes. That's the biggest issue. But in terms of what we know, no argument. Lifestyle is the biggest thing. Unless you go to a doc and the doc's used to doing surgery or prescribing pills, then again, you go down that path. Then once you get to the diet issue, 30 years ago, it was all low fat, low fat, low fat. And then some things happened. A lot of people started having success with that Scarsdale diet, which is a keto diet. Then that started getting a lot of press. People were very concerned about it. I was worried about it at that point because of the amount of fat in the diet. This fellow died. He left a lot of money for some good trials, randomized clinical trials for diets. And randomized clinical trials for diets are very, very hard because people have to agree to have their diet randomized for months. It's not easy to find a whole lot of people that will agree to have their diet randomized for months. You just don't see it. And so that's one of the reasons that there's such difficulty finding good evidence behind it. But anyhow, some of the really good dietary trials did come out as a result of that funding. And what they indicated was, no, keto diets are not unhealthy like many of us feared. And in fact, they did appear to be effective. So one of the things that you'll find with a keto diet is that there's a lot of water weight loss in the beginning. There's also a lot of water weight gain the minute you fall off of it. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the downsides. But as you continue to look at it, it does appear to be more effective at weight loss. Now, I would agree with you though, coming out on the other side and having a lot of experience with patients as well as myself in both of those types of diets, you really need both. There's still a lot of people out there that focus on low-fat diet, and they complain, they say keto diet's not good, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is that's not true. It is a good diet. The keto folks, the low carbers, and I tend to fall more in that camp than the other. They would say, look, it's not the bank account theory. The bank account theory is it's calories in versus calories out, and there's nothing else going on there. The reality is that's not true. There's a huge component, we're human beings, and there's a huge component of endocrine impact. Insulin plays a huge part of what goes on with us. And insulin stops fat burning. Insulin is stimulated by carbs. So if you read a couple of books by great endocrinologists, Robert Lustig and David Ludwig is an endocrinologist that's run the obesity program. I think it was UC San Diego or UC San Francisco. David Ludwig is a great endocrinologist who's run the obesity program at Harvard. Both of them have written books about the endocrine impact, the hormonal theory of weight loss, and they show that it's really insulin. Insulin is incredibly powerful. At the end of the day, I'm a cardiovascular preventionist. I want people to stop burning up their arteries. And that happens most of all from one of two things: increased glucose or increased insulin. Both of those happen due to the same things. Carbs in the diet. Fat in the diet doesn't stimulate either one of those. However, one thing that does happen is body fat is a major driver of these problems as well. So at the end of the day, diet is critical, but it's not so simple after that. You need to keep the weight off, minimize body fat, and minimize that daily excursion up to 160 and above, hour after hour of blood sugars.